როცა შეეხება მეშინია ბრაიანს ძალიან დიდია. ავიდა ბრაიან კლუბით.
How does Levan feel about Brian Shaw coming into arm wrestling? Guys, as we know, one of the most talked about things in arm wrestling these days is certainly the appearance of Brian Shaw in the sport. And one of the main reasons why people were wanting Brian to join the sport was because, as we are aware, Brian's around Levan's weight, which is something that a few people discuss. Like, for an example, in most of Levan's matches, he outweighs his opponents by far. In the Ermes match, he had 50 kilos more than Ermes. And in his match against Devon, he had 60 kilos more. Like, as much as Levan is a great arm wrestler, and really just very powerful, outweighing his opponents always seemed to be a thing of his. I remember when we were in the build-up to Ermes vs Levan, and at that time, everybody believed that Ermes was certainly the top 2 in the world, and so did Levan. So, by knowing that Ermes could have the upper hand against him, Levan just bulked up to the heaviest that we have ever seen him, and he showed up to fight with 188 kilos. Although, that strategy of outweighing his opponent wouldn't really happen against Brian, because even Devon has said recently in a podcast that Brian's weight when he's just chilling, not having any preparation for nothing, is 180 kilo. Exactly in the weight that Levan mostly competes at. But now that Brian is in arm wrestling, when he is much further into the sport, his bulking will be a little bit different than it was for strongman, and he will mainly focus on the heavy upper body training, just like Levan. And apparently, when Brian's preparing to compete, he can get to the weight of 200 kilos. So, I can only imagine what Brian will look like when he starts training like an arm wrestler. And about that, Levan has shared with us his thoughts on Brian a bit ago. Take a look.
იმედი მაქვს რომ მომავალში ჩვენი შეხვედრა შედგება ძალიან მოხარული ვიქნები თუ ბრაიანი დაინტერესდება კლავჭიდით და სამომავლოდ ჩვენი მატჩი თუ შედგება მე თამცა აღნიშნავ ფაქტს რომ მეშინია თუ ჩამოვა ჩვენთან თბილისში საქართველოში თუ გვეწევა სტუმრად ძალიან მოხარული ვიქნები ჩაუტარებ ასეთად კლავჭიდის მებით მიგიღებთ სტუმრად ბატონ Brian.
As we heard there from Levan, his response for Brian was quite positive, and he said that if Brian shows interest in arm wrestling, their future match would be a pleasure for him, and that if Brian would like to go to Georgia to train with him, he would be very welcome. And this was pretty cool by Levan. Like, he said that around a year ago, when where Brian was just getting a little bit of touch with the arm wrestling training. But right now, I think the sport might have really caught Brian's attention. But what about you guys? What's your thoughts on Levan's message to Brian? Leave down in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.